Good day everyone, this is Hendra here from Cape Cornwall, coming to you live from the beautiful Eastern Cape province of South Africa. I'm kind of in and around pine plantation at the moment. A very interesting plant here to show you that you might not expect to see on the roadside. This beautiful orchid, Disa hyans. I believe the common name is the lizard orchid, the reason for that evades me. But it's this beautiful deep purple color. It's part of the Herschelia group of Disa, section Trichochila. So originally it was Herschelia hyans until they decided to lump it in with the Disa. It is endemic to the garden route, so from here sort of Knysna, Plettenberg Bay, along the southern coast of South Africa where it gets relatively even rainfall. This is summer flowering. I'm here early in January, so it's part of the hotter part of the year. Some clouds coming over. It's growing in this very open road verge. A few other of these plants. And actually on the ground in front of me is all Laurenbergia repens. This is a common bog plant that you get here in South Africa. It often grows with Drosera in the mountains. Even down here. Here we've got a very nice specimen of a light coloured Disa hyans. So this variation exists on the side, from the purple to light pink. Apparently we don't know what the pollinator is. Despite there being pollination evident at the site, we don't know what does it. Many of the orchids in this section are pollinated by big carpenter bees in the genus Xylocopa. So maybe this would be the same, or maybe it's something different. All in all, a very cute species. And next we're off to see Drosera venusta. So hopefully we find it and see you there. So under a rock here, my brothers found a really interesting, not plant, but interesting animal. These are velvet worms. Peripatopsis, they like to sit still sometimes when they've been bothered. They move along. So these are very prehistoric little creatures. They spray kind of a slimy glue on their prey. They're very predatory, but they're very primitive. They have only kind of air holes for breathing, so they like to stay in moist, damp places so they don't dry out. Very cool thing to find. You can see now it's starting to crawl out. They are often found under logs, rocks, damp material, and moss, where they stay wet. Such a cool find by my brother. There's a whole little family of the guys. So they're very commonly under the rocks. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 congregating here together. They're very soft and velvety, hence the common name velvet worms. Almost glisten in the sun, but don't like it very much, so I'm going to close the log over and let them stay moist under there. Just another cool factoid. So this is part of the extensive pine plantation that is set up in the garden route. There are dozens of them. You also get a few in the Cape, but they're not as productive as down here where there's much better rainfall. And the industry is huge. If you look around, it's about as far as I can see is just pine trees. And this is a popular industry because the Cape is relatively devoid of wood naturally. There's a few coastal forests. But it's all slower growing trees, hardwood, very prized woods like yellowwood and stinkwood, ironwood, etc. But these are fast growing. They needed them for the shipbuilding industry and various other industries that formed here in South Africa many years ago. So they're quite big here. The pines have escaped though and become a bit of a problem in the mountains. Even the mountains out there in the distance from here, I can see pine trees growing along the ridge line. So it's a bit of a blessing and a curse for the Cape, but a very economically important industry in this part of the country where visually not much else seems to be going on. So, just an interesting little history and ongoing fact about the plantations here in South Africa. So, back next to the road, adjacent to the pine forest, we find ourselves at Drosera venusta, the beautiful Sundew, named after Venus, a goddess of beauty. Also called the garden route Sundew because it's endemic to the garden route. So we find a few decent specimens. They're still dewy, quite happy. There's more nearby, but they're super baked. And I believe this might be Drosera lisiae growing among them, but it's hard to tell. They're small size. So venusta you can easily see because the leaves are semi-erect. They're raised off the ground, whereas Lisiae is prostrate. The leaves are pressed to the ground all the time. And venusta gets this lovely kind of golden red color. Lisiae is really red in my experience. There's a few plants growing in basically leaflet and pine needle debris from the forestry, which is quite cool. The ground below is quite clay-like almost. It's pretty rock solid and very dry, much drier than you'd expect. But does, I think, moisten up here. As you see, we got more Laurenbergia and a lot of ferns growing here. On the roadside there might be more Drosera in there, but it's hard to tell. A lot of the plants are sort of in this ridge across there, but very dry. not very appealing for the cameras. So it's a cool find. I'm just hoping I can find a few flowers to show you. Anyway, on to the next site, or to the end. So here we just got a cool thing. It's a Drosera venusta stem. So if you see it next to my finger, he's grown up a centimeter or two. So it's quite a common thing for these rosetted Sundews. If they get old, if they're growing through stuff, they grow leaf after leaf after leaf, but slowly over time building up a stem that can get a few centimeters tall. I've seen conifolia stems that are 4 or 5 centimeters. So this guy might eventually climb up to the stars, or it's going to snap off and grow again from the roots. The plant itself is very small and stressed out. Being in the baking sun, you can see this kind of clay soil I spoke about. And some of the other plants I actually have behind me. Setting fruit quite nicely, but annoyingly no flowers. But you can see they're very red, very stressed out. Not really got any dew. They go this kind of browny, muddy red color when they're so dehydrated like this. So, very cool spot to see. Let's move on. So a little further on here, we found ourselves more Drosera venusta. These are much better looking specimens. Here, just on the side of the road, as the cars come past. So this is a more of the kind of commonly seen golden green color form. There's a lot of seedlings around here, and we're literally in a ditch on the side of the road. Beautiful mountains around, and a lot of trees. Just coming back to this plant, you can see again the beautiful kind of spatulate leaves. They're semi-erect, so they're lifted off the ground a bit. Got a little bit of a stem going. Gonna see the color of the old leaves around the bottom there. So now on our way back over the Bloukrans pass from Storms River, where we're seeing the Drosera venusta. So this is quite interesting. This is a dual lane road, but being in the Eastern Cape, a relatively dysfunctional province of the country in terms of government effectiveness in keeping the roads intact, it is now pretty much a lane, if you can even call it that. You can see the line in the middle of the road there, and nature has been very effective in reclaiming it. There's rocks and trees and bushes and shrubs. We're taking everything over, but it is a super scenic route, and I'm very glad I get to do it to avoid paying about $4 in toll fees to go the quicker way on the highway. But as always, a scenic route can be better. Sometimes you see some orchids up in the trees, a mongoose running across the road, so this is what it's all about. So we just stopped again to give a good view of the indigenous forest here, which is really marvelous to see. There's not many places in the Cape, we're still in the Eastern Cape, but in the Cape forestic region as a whole, where you get very nice intact forest. This is where back in the day you would have used to find a lot of Neisner forest elephants. Now I believe there's just one solitary female trudging about near Neisner, very reclusive animals. It's just really incredible here, the diversity, the noise and all the birds. The pass opens up a little bit here. There's a lot of butterflies as well. This is a really diverse area for those, and a good time of year for them. Unfortunately, I don't know much to tell you. But enjoy the view. We'll keep on going. So here, on our way back, we find the resident bobchans, the baboons. Are these Chakma baboons, is it? These are Chakma baboons. They're quite big. It's hard to get the scale from here. Zoomed out, and not getting too close just to disturb them. These guys here are grooming each other. They're lazing around the road. It's nice and warm. It's nice and open. So I'm gonna peacefully mosey on through here and try not to bother them. They're pretty hesitant around people usually, but these seem to be pretty used to us. If you give them their space, they give you yours. It's fairly rare that people get bothered unless you really try and antagonize them, but they will take any opportunity to steal your food in the urban areas. They're pretty big menaces there. And these guys in the forest are quite far from any people and quite relaxed. Very cool to see the monkeys. Well, not technically monkeys, but it's given a very gentle passing by. And yes, goodbye cousins. So now that I've stopped out of the road, just to have a better look at these giant Otaniqua yellowwoods. The canopies of these trees are big and sprawling and filled with this Opa's beard moss. Opa meaning grandpa, so I guess grandpa's beard. Once this car passes, and the other one, and the one behind that, and a fourth. I don't know where they're all coming from. These trees must be at least 600 years old, living here at the bottom of the valley. Here they're protected from the fires that are often common in the Cape. This entire forest doesn't get that much fire. It's quite well buffered and The frequent rainfall keeps the very dry fynbos at bay. So fynbos and forests kind of form a moving border depending on how frequent the fire is, but these are kind of not fire-prone habitats in the slightest, so you get these lovely old mature trees that survive. Many of the big trees in the Cape were felled for timber back in the day, but at least some of them have persisted. Maybe this wood is just too difficult to extract from the valley. That's why it's still here today for us to enjoy. They are really unbothered, loving life, busy grooming each other out here. Another car's driven past them, cyclists has come by. They're just loving here, having a wonderful time. I envy them, honestly. Yeah, so you can see here again some of the big tree roots that accompany this path. This is stuff that is blown down from the cliffs across. So we're now crossing back from the Eastern Cape into the Western Cape. You can see here how gritty and bumpy the road is. And then as soon as we're over the bridge of the Bloukrans, whatever, it is still and peaceful again. The river is incredible. We'll stop and give a nice view now. Lovely tannin-stained water. The forest is still continuing here. Nice late afternoon sun. Now we're back on the blissful, well-maintained Western Cape roads. So a PSA for anyone else who wants to follow my adventures: bring something with big tires when you come into the Eastern Cape. You're going to need them. So here we have the Bloukrans River. It means the blue crane, which is our national bird. Lovely tannin-stained water. It's brown from tannins and aluminium and other organic compounds washed down from the forest. They're really impressive up on these massive hills. Some of the hills close to the coast are formed in old sand dunes. This is more rocky base. If you look across here, you can see where they dynamited out a path in the road. They carved them out to build a pass. The forest still towering over us. Colonized the entire side. Lots of old man beard lichen and orchids. You get streptocarpus in here, xanthodecia, arums. So it's a really diverse place. Not many carnivorous plants in here though. The Sundews actually kind of skip these mountains out until you get to Eastern Cape where we were earlier. I suspect these forests are just way too dense for them. Maybe the soil is too rich for our nutrient deficient carnivorous buddies. It's a breathtaking view. So please enjoy it. I hope you guys enjoyed coming with me today. I'll see you next time for some more carnivorous plant adventures.